Thor Love and Thunder marks the 6th film in Phase 4 of the MCU, so today we're going to rank them from worst to best. Hey everybody, my name's Justin here. I try to watch everything that hits theaters and streaming services. If you guys are like me, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more content. Thor Love and Thunder is finally here, and it is the latest addition in the Phase 4 of MCU. We've had plenty of movies, we've had plenty of shows. Leave your ranking down below. What is your favorite and least favorite Phase 4 MCU film? Let's kick this video off. Coming in at number 6, The Eternals. I had the hardest time actually getting through The Eternals the first time I watched it. I didn't see it in theaters when it was released, and then it was released on Disney Plus in January. I didn't watch it for a few weeks after that. I just didn't have the interest in watching it. I watched it about halfway through and I fell asleep. So I had to rewatch it, but it took me several more weeks to actually rewatch this film. I appreciate the look of it. The visuals are absolutely stunning. There is some good looking moments within here, but there isn't a lot that really keeps me interested. It has a large story, so a lot of backstory for these characters and so many characters that I just didn't latch onto a lot of it. The characters are there and they are entertaining. They're all kind of competing for screen time, and there is some good relationships along the way, but a lot of the characters are just there in the background and I couldn't tell you the name of some of them. We're also supposed to believe that the Deviants are a larger threat to the Eternals than Thanos. The question was brought up, why didn't they intervene when Thanos was at large? Well, we only were supposed to come when there were Deviants. We're supposed to believe that the Deviants were more of a threat than Thanos. I never feel that in here. There's a lot of things in here that could be a huge impact to the world. I just do not feel that urgency within this film. It's a long film. A lot of it feels drawn out. We're focused on a lot of these smaller characters when we really don't need to. And that runtime, you just absolutely feel it. So the Eternals really feels like it's an odd place in the MCU. Visually, it's stunning. There's some fun characters, some fun action scenes. But other than that, it's a film I really didn't care about. Coming in 5th place is Black Widow. This is a fun film. I do enjoy Black Widow for what it tries to do. I feel like at times it's not really focused on Natasha Romanoff. It's more focused on her setup, played by Florence Pugh. So we see a lot of her, and she is going to be in more of the MCU films. We even got her in Hawkeye, the MCU Disney Plus series. So at times it doesn't even feel like it is a Black Widow film. It feels like a setup film for future characters. There is some questionable green screen within this film, but I do like some of the characters in here, and David Harbour in here I absolutely loved. The villain in here, Taskmaster, is easily one of the worst villains in Phase 4 of the MCU. Not a lot of development for that character and just a very forgettable villain. I think that Black Widow did offer some good back and forth between Scarlett Johansson and Florence Pugh. I liked I like what they did offer within the film. Didn't really focus much on Black Widow, but just focus on other characters. Coming in 4th place is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This was a wild film, and I think that Sam Raimi added his flair to this movie. It felt like the first horror MCU film. There were some chilling moments within here. Elizabeth Olsen gave a really good performance in here, and I like the exploration of the different multiverses. We had John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, which I absolutely loved. So there were a lot of good things I appreciate about this film. But I truly wasn't invested in the storyline of Wanda searching for her kid, since we just got that previously in WandaVision. So at times it does feel like it's repeating itself with Wanda and her children and the trauma all around Vision. I think that it was explored beautifully in WandaVision, and it felt like it kind of came to an end with all of that, but we had revisited again in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. By watching all of that, I didn't get a lot of new things. besides Wanda being destructive and killing people and trying to get to children in a different multiverse. There's several different ways they could have gone about it, but they went this route, and I don't think it paid off the best way possible. It's a film that I don't want to revisit too much of. There's some good things along the way, incorporating some horror elements, and Doctor Strange is great once again. Some new characters like America Chavez I did appreciate, but other than that, it's not the best MCU film. Coming in third place is Shang-Chi. This is an action-packed film with very likable characters, main characters and minor characters, and has a villain that you're truly side with and has a heartbreaking story. I liked Shang-Chi as a character, and that solid relationship he had with Awkwafina brought smiles to my face. But also exploring Shang-Chi's past and his father and that complicated relationship made this film worth watching, and I was truly invested with some of these storylines, and it just had a lot of development for not only Shang-Chi but other characters as well. It does feel a little bit typical in our third act and some of the reveals and some of the action scenes, but nonetheless, Shang-Chi was a fun film. It's entertaining. It's got some well-filmed action sequences. Some of the side characters add a lot of humor to it. It's a very light-hearted film with a character that I want to see flourish in the MCU. I can't wait for the sequel and more of Shang-Chi in the future, because this is a character that's very confident, very likable, and it was a very enjoyable film. Coming in second place is Thor: Love and Thunder. This was a nice mix of heart and humor. It had all of its heart with the relationship between Jane Foster and Thor. It had a lot of romance to it, but also had a lot of humor about relationships and trauma as well. At times it was using its humor to kind of mask the feelings of Thor, but Taika Waititi adds his flair to it, and it's a really enjoyable film. Zeus, I thought, was a little gimmicky within the film, and some of the side characters didn't really amount to much. But I do think that Christian Bale as Gore, the God Butcher, was truly menacing. Even though his story was kind of flat and there wasn't a lot of exploration for that character, I liked Christian Bale within here. And the style of it is perfect. It's very vibrant. The Guardians in here, even though very brief in here, I liked seeing them. So there's a lot in here that I did appreciate. The story of Jane Foster and Thor, and that love story that's developing, and seeing Jane Foster as Mighty Thor was so cool to see, and they brought her back in a meaningful and touching way that added a lot to this film. It's not as good as Thor Ragnarok, but it's still a really enjoyable MCU film. And coming in first place is SpiderMan No Way Home. It's got Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. What's not to love about that? And bringing back the villains from the previous Spider-Man films. Film that set forth what to expect in the MCU with the multiverse and having John Krasinski and Professor X. We had expectations going into Doctor Strange after seeing Spider-Man No Way Home. And they brought these characters in and made some of them even better than they were in their previous films. With so many villains, I think they handled it all very well. And seeing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield acting alongside Tom Holland was a sight to see. It was so amazing. I remember seeing it in theaters and just being absolutely blown away by that. And we had anticipations for it and expecting to see them in it. And we got it, and they definitely delivered. But there's also a lot of emotion for Tom Holland within the film, and how he is juggling his life while also being Spider-Man. And it's come to a point where he doesn't really know how to handle it, and so he's relying on other people to help him out. We see some characters change throughout the film, and we see a lot of connections to the previous Spider-Man films, and it's all there. It's all enjoyable to watch. This is by far the best MCU Spider-Man film, and this is one that set forth a lot of expectations moving forward. I can't wait to see what they do with other Spider-Man films and other multiverse films by setting up what they did with Spider-Man and bringing in Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. A lot of fan service film. But Spider-Man No Way Home had great action, had a lot of emotions within it, and characters that I loved were in this film. So there you guys have it, all Phase 4 MCU films ranked worst to best. What is your favorite one and what is your least favorite one? Let me know in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more up and coming content like this. My name is Just Watches Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.